What is GMO? GMO or genetically modified organism is a plant, animal, microorganism, or other organism whose genetic makeup has been modified in a laboratory using genetic engineering, transgenic technology. This creates combinations of plant, animal, bacterial, and virus genes that occur in nature or through traditional crossbreeding methods. History of GMO. In 1973, Herbert Boyer and Stanley Cohen made the first genetically modified organism. They took a gene from a bacterium that provided resistance to the antibiotic kanamycin, inserted it into a plasmid, and then induced another strain of bacteria to incorporate that plasmid, therefore giving it resistance to the antibiotic kanamycin. In 1974, Rudolf Heinrich created a transgenic mouse by introducing foreign DNA into its embryo, making it the world's first transgenic animal. In 1976, Genentech, the first genetic engineering company, founded by Herbert Boyer and Robert Swanson. A year later, in 1977, they were able to produce the human protein, somatostatin, in E. coli. Genentech announced the production of generally engineered human insulin in 1978, and it was approved for human use by the U.S. Food, Drug and Administration in 1982, branded as Humulin. In 2015, Aqua Advantage salmon became the first genetically modified animal to be approved for food use.
The advantage of genetically modified organism. The advantage of GMO, its increased crop yield, lower food and drugs production cost, reduced pesticides use, improved nutrients composition and food quality, pest and disease resistance, greater food security, and medical benefits to the world's growing population are just few of the advantages of genetic engineering in agriculture. And GMO aren't limited to plants and animals, but are also used in production of medicine and vaccine using microorganisms, which can help improve human lives. According to GMO, some examples of where GMOs are used in the development of vaccine are with the Zika virus, Ebola virus, flu virus, and hepatitis B. And as for drugs, according to GMO, aside from insulin, Remicade, Epo, Avastin, and Neulasta are some of the popular drugs that can obtain from hospitals and pharmacies where genetic modification was used.
If GMOs are good, then why are they disliked or outright hated by some people? There are legitimate reasons with research to back them. Then there's the misconceptions and beliefs of people and why genetic engineering isn't used on humans right now. First are the legitimate reasons backed by science and research. The main concern is with the effects on the environment due to the following: GMO plants being made tolerant and resistant to herbicides, weeds and pests gaining resistance to herbicides, insecticides, and pesticides, and the increasing usage of herbicides, insecticides, and pesticides to combat that. An example of those three going hand in hand is with the products of the company Monsanto. Monsanto developed GMO crops that they label as Roundup Ready, which are resistant to the Roundup weed killer that they also sell. The weeds and pests gain resistance over time to herbicides, insecticides, and pesticides due to the exposure to it, which makes the necessity of stronger kinds of those to be utilized, which can be toxic, like one of the ingredients in Roundup, which is glyphosate, a compound that has been labeled by the WHO as probably carcinogenic to humans. As for the misconceptions and beliefs of people, let's start with people believing that living things such as plants, animals, us humans, and other living things are creations of God and should not be tampered with, as that is unnatural, with scientists who make GMOs being accused of playing God. There are others like conspiracy theories of GMOs being part of a plan of large corporations to wipe out smaller farmers or to poison people, which comes into play with people being disgusted and avoiding GMOs because they deem them harmful, and more reasons that they dislike or outright hate the existence of GMOs, with extremists going to the extent of destroying plantations where GMOs are planted. That hatred of GMOs also comes into the mandatory requirement of GMOs being labeled that they are GMO products, with some people avoiding any products labeled for having GE or genetic engineering like GE food or the use of GE ingredients, despite those products in the market already passing the testing of food and drug regulatory bodies of the countries and are deemed to be safe for human consumption. Last is why genetic engineering technology isn't used on humans yet. Genetic engineering technology is still relatively new technology and highly experimental. Usage on humans raise ethical, social, moral, and also legal issues like with malpractice of medicine. An example of that is with the case of the Chinese scientist He Jiankui and his two colleagues who conducted gene editing on embryos to disable a gene called CCR5 to disable the HIV virus from entering cells, which gave way to the world's first gene-edited babies. Though the intentions were good, he was hit with ethical and legal issues as He Jiankui himself ended up with 3 years of imprisonment for illegal medical practice, with his two colleagues also being sentenced.
GMO products in the market. What GMO crops are grown and sold products on the market? These are some of the current GMO products that are available on the market. For GMO crops, there is corn, soybeans, cotton, potatoes, papaya, summer squash, canola, alfalfa, apple, and sugar beets.
In conclusion, GMOs have brought both advantages and issues that were not identified early on, and it's still experimental, especially concerning its application to human subject. The advantages are beneficial to human, like the increased nutritional value and increased crop yields due to less pests damaging crops. But on the other hand, the concern like with weeds growing resistance to herbicides and carcinogens, in strong herbicides being dangerous to humans, also have their proof. GMOs have been around for decades and it's already widely used in some products, but more researcher studies would have to be made to properly assess how they would affect humans and the environment over the long term and how safe they are to living beings.